Alright, so June 2023 is now over. That means today I am going to review two new movies that I have seen, The Flash and Indiana Jones Dial of Destiny. But before I do that, please make sure to join me down below in the comment section, subscribe, hit the like button, hit the bell, and again, like I said, tell me what is your opinions on The Flash and Dial of Destiny. I want to know all that and more down below. Also, I reached 100 subscribers. Thank you guys very much. It's very much appreciated. I've had this channel for 4 years, and it's pretty big milestone for 100 subscribers. Let's keep grinding. By the end of the next 4 years, we're going to be 100 million. Okay? Alright. With that said, I'm going to review The Flash first, and I'm going to review Dial of Destiny. And with that said, let's get started with my review on The Flash. And I'm going to come out and say it. Superhero movies are back, baby. Across the Spider-Verse, Guardians 3, this movie, The Flash, all of these movies are back. I'm back in my superhero mode. I've learned that it's not really superhero fatigue that's put me out of the movie industry or put me out of the superhero industry. The thing that put me out of it was I was tired of bad superhero movies. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania was the same thing as literally Thor: Love and Thunder and Wakanda Forever. Superhero gets in a fight with villains, superhero loses, goes do some motivational journey, finally has a final battle with it, and I was just really bored of that type of superhero movie. With these three movies, we finally have decent superhero movies. I love The Flash. I'm gonna be honest, I really did. Starting with the positives here, Ezra Miller, I don't care if he's a horrible person. I don't care about anything that he's done. He is great in this. Sure, I don't want him back. If he didn't do that, though, I would be open to having him back as a Flash. He is really good in here. He plays two characters. He plays young Barry and old Barry, and it is really, really good. And he has great chemistry with himself. It's genuinely hilarious. We'll talk about the jokes here in a few minutes, but he is just so good in this movie, to where, even from the beginning, he captures the fun energy, fun, quirky, laughable energy that the Flash has always had. And then, even with young Barry, captures who young Barry used to be, just a careless teen who gets internship, still very careless and very destructive about his job and everything he does. And two of them, with a more experienced Barry and a younger Barry, they both have some great chemistry within there. Everybody else is good. Michael Keaton returns as Batman, and I think he is really good in here. I never grew up watching Batman 89. In fact, from today, I have still never seen Batman 89. Thing is, I still think Michael Keaton did a fantastic job as Batman in this movie. Sasha Calle's Supergirl, absolutely stunning. She's only in this movie for the third act, but for what she does, and when we learn the emotions of what Zod did to Superman, that really works, and she is actually really good in this movie and really plays the emotions. So this cast is absolutely stacked. Then again, we got the action. The action is compelling and it's interesting. If you think about it, we start off the movie with a big action sequence, a big cold open, and then we keep moving on, and then the second act is just all character work. It's Barry's talking to each other, trying to figure out things that are going on, learning some exposition. So there's not any action in the middle act, and I'm going to be honest, the middle act was really good. It wasn't no action, and so it was just genuinely compelling. And because there was no action, it wasn't just, oh no, they lost and now they're gonna win in the end. And when we got to the action in the third act, it's really compelling and really interesting to see where it's going to leave us at. And so the action, pretty good. Again, it still had that Zack Snyder Superman punching people around type of thing. The action where they fight the Kryptonians in the end was still very good. I really enjoyed that. The comedy in this movie really worked as well. I was laughing quite a bit. Like I said, the two Barry Allens have excellent chemistry, but the jokes themselves are actually written really well, to where I was just sitting back and I was actually dying of laughter. It was really, really, really funny. Overall, this is just a great superhero movie. It's got everything that a good superhero movie needs. Good actors, good action, good comedy, and it's a return to form. And if you look at where DCEU is, this is one of the better DCEU films. DCEU is a terrible franchise for me. I hate the DCEU. But here we are, throwing in this movie, and now we got another great DCEU movie to end off the franchise. Honestly, with the DCEU, I couldn't wait for it to end. But there's movies like this, and movies like Aquaman, and movies like The Suicide Squad that make this universe worth living. If you give a director an idea, and you get to play at that idea, those are the movies that worked, and I feel like that's what was done here. The third act, for me, is just, it's a little messy, honestly, but I really did like so many things about that third act. Like I said, the action was great, and it really made you think about the whole universe reset. So let me take a pause here in this review and explain something to you, what the universe reset actually was. Okay, because I had so many people ask me, oh, I don't get the ending, and that's why The Flash is bad. It really makes you think. You're gonna have to think about it. You're gonna have to know time travel to understand this ending. And it can be a bit controversial for people. I can understand that. For me, I thought it was done really well. First off, so two Barrys, right, go to the Speed Force, try to reverse time so everybody can, they can live again, and the world can be saved, because he created a universe with no Superman. And so younger Barry is like, oh, I could just keep doing this over and over. And so younger Barry creates a future Flash, which is the Dark Flash, which is technically him, that goes back and keeps trying to do it and keeps trying to also save the timeline so that universe is corrected, so that he keeps having powers and everything is just the exact same as they had, but with Zod gone. And so, yeah, the villain is Dark Flash, and so all Barry needed to do was go back in time, stop his mother from being alive, and go back to his future, and all of that would be reversed. That's what the ending means. No, also, he moved a soup can so his father could look up instead of looking down, creating new evidence for his father to at least be out of jail. Really done well, and it really makes you think. And again, about the universe reset, it really made me think, yeah, that's an interesting universe reset. I can get behind that. I think it really works. And that's what happens. I think it is done really, really well. This ending was done. Yeah, like I said, again, great superhero movie. It does a lot of things right. It does some things wrong. The third act, I think there was a huge chunk that could be taken out. The whole part where all of a sudden Barry's like, oh, I'm going to get my powers so we can fight Zod. Compared to where we were before and where we got at the ending, I thought that scene really took me out of the movie, because he gets shocked by lightning and then carried up by Supergirl, and it feels like just a scene so far out of left field that it really didn't fit in here. They could have gave him his powers some other way. It would have even been better if he didn't get his powers for the finale, because, I mean, it would have been great to see other Barry have to go back in time and do all that. But, I mean, it needed to happen for the plot to progress. I wish they could have found a better way to do that. Also, like I said, the third act really is a bit messy. If you're not smart like me, you would not understand this ending, and it is a bit sloppy in its execution and the way it does things as a whole. Overall, though, I think that this is a great superhero movie. There's not movies that come out like this anymore. Makes you think, makes you love it, makes you so entertained by all of the things that happen here. I watched this movie, I was really entertained. I leaned over to my best friend who was watching it with me, and I said, hey, I think this is a really good movie. And he agreed. We both had a blast watching The Flash. I think it really works as a film. And for me, I'm giving it an A-. Flash is in my top 5 of the year. Now we gotta talk about Dial of Destiny. And this, again, wasn't a movie that I was super anticipating, because I'm not the biggest Indiana Jones guy, but when I even started rewatching the franchise before I saw this movie, I was just so excited for this movie. I love Indiana Jones. I love the first movie, Raiders of the Lost Ark, is one of the pivotal pieces in film history, and I think it is just such a great movie. And Temple of Doom is a good sequel. I haven't seen Last Crusade or Kingdom of the Crystal Skull yet. I plan on watching those as some of my next 2 movies I watch. Anyways, this movie, I think, was another really great movie. I really liked this movie. I did have issues with it, yes, but I think it's just another solid Indiana Jones adventure. I think, I'm going to say something really controversial. I think this is better than Temple of Doom, honestly. I really did like this movie, and I think it really did work. Starting off with the positives, the cast here obviously is great. Harrison Ford doesn't have the same amount of charm as he does in the originals, but that's okay, because he's a sad old man who goes back on one last journey. And when we get to the beginning, honestly, for me, with Harrison Ford, I said, I don't know if I like him. When we get to the second act and the adventure solving, he's the same Indy, the same enjoyable character that we've gotten before. And Harrison Ford always just has that charm with always a female lead who I don't think was as annoying as a lot of people are saying. I think she does some bad things, but I think she is also really great in the movie. He's got just great charm with everybody, and everybody's great in this movie. Mads Mikkelsen is the villain. Mads Mikkelsen is absolutely phenomenal. I really liked him in this movie. The cast here is really, really great. The adventure stuff with Indiana Jones going on and solving the puzzles, all that is really fun. Even though there is this one sequence near the end to where I really should have been shortened down. This movie really did not need to be that long. I found myself losing attention during that whole sequence, and when I got back in the sequence at the end of the movie, the attention kind of just threw me out of the movie. Anyways, I'll talk about that more later, but I think the adventure stuff and him finding out the puzzles and finding out the secrets of the dial is also really compelling. Not as compelling as the original trilogy. It's still really fun and energetic. I'm going to say something really controversial here. Again, the action set pieces in this movie really compare up to the original, I think. I know a lot of people are saying, oh, the action set pieces are forgettable and boring. I really like them. I mean, the first action set pieces is during a parade where the bad guys have Indy, and Indy escapes by taking a horse, outrunning a train twice, outrunning 2 trains, and jumping onto it. And it's fun and it's memorable. And then there's an action sequence on a boat. And then there's an action sequence in Cairo. And there's just so many action sequences that are just so fun to watch for me. Watch Indiana Jones have the adventure one more time. I think it's compared really, 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 really well. And the ending, I think, is done really well as well. So they were going to make a specific character arc to Indiana Jones. I'm going to say it, spoilers here. I'm going to say spoilers because this movie has been out for 4 days now. Indiana Jones was going to stay in Rome after they time traveled back to Rome. And I sat there and I was like, this is really stupid. I think this is going to be terrible. This is a terrible character. This is going to be one of the most stupid character arcs anybody's ever had in a movie. But we completely flipped the switch on that, and it turns out that's not what happened. And the ending is really emotional. The ending really... I was sitting there, and this is some of the most emotional that I have ever felt while sitting in the theater. I'm going to be honest, this is some of the most emotions I've ever felt, because it brings back so much nostalgia. As a kid, I watched Raiders all the time. I love that movie so much. And so what they did by bringing Marion in there and those callbacks was really, really great. And I genuinely had tears in my eyes, and I was trying not to cry because it was just so emotional for this character. And for one of the most beloved characters, that was a great ending for him. And it's just a great, solid send-out for Indiana Jones. It has the adventures, it has the emotions, and it has the ending of the character arc. Indiana Jones is here. He doesn't know who to live for. And Marion comes in, and he's like, he still has something to live for. That is just emotional and great, and a great character send-off for Indiana Jones. And I absolutely dug that. It was great and emotional. And like I said, the ending really makes you think. You go back to Rome and the whole thing with Rome, and of course it's not as entertaining. It feels so far out of left field just a little bit, but not like really, because if you remember, the first movie actually ended off with demons coming out of a box. But it is interesting for them to time travel, and I really did like that. And so it's an interesting ending. It's not the solid ending. I did have a lot of problems with the third act, but I think the first 2 acts is one of the great indie films. I think it's got great action set pieces, great adventure, great casting. I think it's just a very solid action film. But I did have some problems with the third act. My main problem with the third act was that it's definitely really long. At one point I was like, oh, we have half an hour left. And we still had an hour. At that point we had an hour, I believe. And I sat back and I was like, oh, we're spending a lot of time on this sequence. And honestly, when they get to the cave to find the last piece of the dial, I found myself really drifting away, really not as invested in the movie. And when we go back to time travel, I'm back invested, and I really dig the movie on that point on. But I just really felt bored with a lot of it, because was, I mean, a half hour longer, we could have shaved that whole thing off. There could have been like a 10-minute sequence of that, not a half-hour sequence. And there's still great things in that sequence, bringing back Temple of Doom, the kid escaping. I think all that's great, but if they shaved 20 minutes off, this would be in my top 5 of the year as well. And then the ending, again, makes some stupid decisions. Like I said, the whole idea that Indy would even want to stay in Rome is just absolutely stupidity to me. This is one of the best characters of all time. Why would you make a decision to have the best character of all time stay in Rome, not even in the real world? To me, it's just a really stupid decision. And they reverse that. I'm so happy to make a fantastical ending. But just the way it started off, I was just like, this is really stupid. And in the ending sequence, another thing that really confused me, they had a kid jump in a plane to follow them through a time travel portal. And the kid's like, I don't know how to fly a plane. And he hops in and he flies it perfectly. What? Like, those kind of decisions were what made me feel like the third act was a bit weaker than the first 2 acts. And again, it's not directed by Spielberg. It doesn't have original Indy, so it loses some of the magic along the way that the original Indiana Jones had. It's not as energetic or entertaining as Indiana Jones once was in the past, and so there is just all those problems with it there that made it not be one of my favorite movies of the year. But I really did dig this movie. It was a really fun Indiana Jones adventure for the first 2 acts. I really think this is a fun movie. I think people should go to the theaters to see it. It hasn't even made half of what the movie cost. I mean, last time I read, it only made like $110 million. It's so shocking to me that people aren't going to the theater to see Indiana Jones. My recommendation goes to the theater to see Indiana Jones because I'm giving it an A-. You really need to see Dial of Destiny. I think it can compare up to the original. My dad didn't like it. My dad didn't grow up watching Indiana Jones. But if you grew up watching Indiana Jones, I think this is an excellent send-off to the character. Did have some problems in the third act, but it's still a really entertaining movie. Alright, thank you for clicking on this video. That is all for my Flash review and Indiana Jones Dial of Destiny review. I'm going to have an Indiana Jones ranking, a DCEU ranking, a Barry Season 4 review, a Barry ranking, a Breaking Bad Season 4 review. I'm going to have so much stuff coming up, guys. I'm so sorry. I'm really behind. But thank you guys for clicking on this one. Thank you guys for getting me to 100 subscribers. And with that said, subscribe, join the Nerd Army. Peace out.